Welcome to Spark a Conversation. Our community's requested that we get business owners and directors all in one room to discuss real life, the obstacles, the highs, the lows, and of course the wins of running a business. Uncut, raw, let's dive deep into what it's really like being an entrepreneur, being self-employed, business ownership, the day-to-day hustle. Welcome, chaps. Thank you for making the journey over. You've all travelled a fair way, haven't you? So, this side, this is Reiss Taylor from the RTR Group nationwide. We have Mark Arrowsmith from Arrowtech Solar and EV. And last but not least, we have Matt Leech from Stockport Electrical Services. All working alongside us at the moment. I've had the pleasure of getting to meet you all on a personal basis, and now we're connecting our contractors from around the country, aren't we? And I thought it would be a real good environment to have, is rather than just doing the individual podcasts, to have people around the room. 3 similar style businesses, however operational, completely different. There's not one of the same here. So it's going to be really good to dive deep into where you've come from, your stories, your backgrounds, where the business started, the in-between, where we are today, and what your future plans are. So let's start with you, Reiss. How did you get to be the director of RTR?
I suppose it started from a personal level. My father-in-law owns some arcades along the seafront, and when I was younger, I started as a technician, so I was always involved in PCBs and maintaining the fruit machines and bits and pieces, which obviously led me on to my electrical career. Studied electrical through my apprenticeship, and really went from there, to be honest with you, growing from strength to strength. Obviously the RTR group has got a couple of different departments, so we've sort of branched out into other areas, and the renewables and EV is obviously one of the sectors that we want to get into.
Great. Mark?
So Mark Arrowsmith, obviously run Arrowtech Solar and EV. So my company started 2020, lockdown, left Rolls-Royce as an electronics engineer, went into running my own electrical business. And then back end of last year, we were doing EVs for a while, EV chargers, but back in the last year we started pushing Arrowtech into solar and EV. So a little bit of a rebrand, and now that's all we really want to do. We do all of the electrical work too, still. But yeah, I'm putting a massive emphasis on the renewables, sort of trying to tie in with some plumbers that really sort of geek off on air source heat pumps, so we can offer a really green, energy efficient home, and that's where we're trying to sort of place our branding now.
Matt?
I started nearly 30 years ago now. It sounds a long time, doesn't it? I did my apprenticeship, just 1994. Did my apprenticeship, and then started working for myself at the age of 24. So I started working, subcontracting to other people, and then eventually set up my own company back in 2007. So, and then we mainly did BMS and HVAC stuff, general electrical work, and then EV is now tagged alongside that, so I'm really enjoying it.
So you've gone through the recession, Brexit.
2 recessions.
That's impressive.
Yeah, that's that air gone.
Pandemic. You've seen a lot then in your short time of being in business.
Yeah.
What got you into that stage where you was like, right, I'm really going to go for this, because you've gone through a lot of growth, haven't you?
Yeah, we've tried. I don't know. It's just a desire to succeed. I think that's the main thing, and also help other people. So we have apprentices. So that's brilliant. Bringing them through and watching them go on to do their own things, and watching them, forge their own careers. It's so rewarding.
It's very brave, isn't it, to go, right, I've got this vision. Shall I do it? Shall I not? Do I take that first leap?
You need someone strong behind you. It was my missus that pushed me. So start of pandemic, Rolls-Royce couldn't fly any airplanes because obviously the whole world stopped, and they make their money by hours flown on maintenance. So they just put out blanket redundancy. So I've got a redundancy package that was enough of a prop to go, right, let's give it a go. I've always wanted to. But you're still nervous. There's still that handshaking moment when you're handing in that letter to say, right, I'm going to take redundancy and start my own business with no customers backing you up. But it was my wife that was like, said, no, do it. Go for it. You can only fail, and then you just go and get another job. So to anybody that wants to do it, just do it.
And you went through all your accreditations and stuff as well, then, haven't you?
Yeah. So it's just never ending. So like my actual qualifications are more based in engineering. So as soon as I started, I had to go and do some other courses to sort of tag onto it to actually become registered with NAPIT as well. Yeah. But then you do your EV charges. I've done the fire one, the solar ones. So yeah, constantly learning all the time as well. And NAPIT and NIC support that. They've got all the courses.
Yeah.
You don't want to put your name to something, and it to potentially fail. Did you have any anxiety?
I mean, you'd be wrong to say that you didn't have any anxiety. I've had sleepless nights where customers haven't paid me. We got knocked for £80,000 last year for a big job we did. There are sleepless nights. I've got 29 staff. My wage bill is like £150,000 a month, if you know what I mean. So you always wonder where that's coming from and what's going to happen. So there are pros and cons, and some days you want to pull your hair out when it doesn't go your way. But there are benefits to owning your own company and putting your own standards on it and actually installing it the way you want to do it and the way you want it to be done.
What are the benefits?
It's rewarding, isn't it? Seeing from quoting stage. Well, from getting an inquiry to quoting to delivering the job and to invoicing it, for all those people to be happy along the way, it's a massive reward, I think.
I personally like the completion effect of when you see, and I'm sure you all do it as you drive past and you go, I wired that house. Yeah. Oh, you see the solar on that roof? I did that. Yeah. Oh, I've done controls in that building. And like, I don't know where you guys have worked, but London Zoo was on the news recently for the Banksy artwork that they've done. We've done a gas interlock in there, and I'm like, I've worked in there to my daughters and bits and pieces, and I get a satisfaction from that. I mean, also personally, all the vans that are on the road, when you see one of your vans or someone goes, I've seen your guys on so-and-so and so-and-so, that's a personal satisfaction for me. And then, I mean, I'm also I'm still earning money when I'm here. Yeah. When I'm on holiday, I'm still earning because I've got the business then. So that's for me is a personal benefit again.
What about the EV sector? Because this wasn't a thing, was it, a few years ago for the general electrical contractor business or self-employed sparks. What got you guys into the industry? Because you're an early adopters, let's be honest.
For me personally, it's the way the world has got to go. We have only got a limited amount of resources, and it's obviously with the solar backing it up as well, it is the way it's got to go, because we've only got so much fuel, we've only got so much fossil fuels, etc. there. So to me, I saw an opportunity for it to grow into, and we haven't been doing it very long because we've got everything else going on, but I definitely think it's the way forward.
We've spoken recently, haven't we, about growth and market opportunities. Do you think you'd be where you are now if you didn't have the EV on to your business?
No, and that's growing. That's growing month on month. We're seeing it, and we're obviously invested into it. We've just invested in an electric van for one of the guys for when he goes out and about, which is great. We're going to be able to relate to the customers then as well. We can reassure them, that we've got one here. It's absolutely fine. Which, especially when you go to the domestic customers, I'm sure you'll find the same. That they've not got the car yet. They're a bit panicky.
I've got 2 on order for Christmas.
Yeah. I think it'll be a great tool for the business to be able to plug in and show customers, say, look, this is how easy it is to charge.
Well, it's also demonstrating your reassurance in the industry, isn't it?
Yeah.
Rather than you turning up in an old diesel van that's not.
Can't do that. Yeah. It just wouldn't look good, would it?
I've got no confidence in it. However, order a load of charges.
You should definitely have it, yeah.
And Mr. Renewable, your business operational is slightly different
Yeah.
to Reiss and Matt, really, I think.
Yeah, so I'm at a different stage in my business. Obviously, I started in 2020. I'm nothing like the size of these, but I think both about 30 lads, that sort of size, aren't you? There's literally 3 of us at the minute, and then my wife does a lot of our admin stuff. It is progressively growing, and I owe that, to be fair, to solar and EV chargers. When I was jobbing as a domestic electrician, it was difficult, and it's just the way, certainly in my area, I don't know what it's like in your areas, but doing domestic installations is chaotic to grow. If you're doing like a small socket change to a rewire in a grade 2 listed building, the variations in that installation from one to another are massive, just like the way the building's made up, or the sort of particular socket a client wants. With an EV charger, it's like a bolt-on system. So you turn up, put 9 times out of 10, put another DB on, and then bolt the charger to the wall. And if you've got somebody doing it day in, day out, same thing, you can start to predict, well, in my opinion, you can start to predict your profitability per job a lot more reliably than when you're just doing electrical work, domestic electrical work, commercials, a bit easier. And the same goes for solar. So you turn up, you have your scaffolding up, and it's a bolt on, it's like mechanics. So bolt everything onto the roof, put your panels on, run some cables down to the inverter, and then connect it up to the supply. It's a much nicer business to run from a forecasting point of view. So I forecast based on how many commercial EV chargers and how many solar installations, calculate average order values out. And it's taken a lot of the stress away from, I don't know what money I'm going to make next month. I know I've got to hit X amount of sales here and here to make this much money. And I don't actually need to work every single day of the week to make the money that I need to make. Like, I can sit here now knowing that I'm okay to do that because I've only got to hit these amount of sales and I'll still make that money. But yeah, it's a lot more easy for me. There's a lot of rubbish that comes with it. Well, not rubbish, bump with the MCS. The MCS paperwork's like an absolute mountain. But we're starting to get our processes and procedures.
How far are you looking in advance for the solars?
So it's up and down. The price of electric droppings put interest down a little bit. But we're about 4-5 weeks in advance, right, generally. But I don't like to let it go that far out. If it goes much further than that, I'll bring more people in because I feel we lose work.
Because people want it sooner.
Yeah, especially at this time of year now, as you're heading into like autumn, winter, people want it done as soon as possible because they want to get the benefit left of this year, the longer days. Yeah. So if that happens, I just bring in like roofers and we can get stuff done really quickly. Whereas if I've got less work, then I'll just do it. We do it all in-house. But yeah, it's a good place.
You made a good few points here, and because this is raw, uncut, pipeline, you can have a pipeline for, I don't know, 6 months if you like. What are the strains on your mind mentally when you know you've got work to come, but you've got to fill the gaps in between?
Stuff overrunning, to certain sorts of stuff getting put back, then hinders your programs. That's the day-to-day stresses of managing, especially if you've got a few lads.
Politics of commercial sites and bits and pieces as well, isn't it? If you can't get on this date and other things that are out of your control as well, is a bit of a pain in the neck, isn't it?
Yeah. Is that helped by being able to offer, say, you've got an EV install, but then you also got the maintenance, because all 3 of you are offering maintenance. Does that help, even if it's only small? In pound notes, it's only small, but if you've got those often and regular, does that help you from a cash flow point of view?
Oh, 100%. I mean, like I said, one of the other sectors of my business is the sort of block management side of the business, where we look after all the emergency lightings, the fire alarms, and obviously tied in with that is all the EV chargers as well. So to know that you've got almost guaranteed income and you've got that contract for the year, that does help to fill up the the little gaps and bits and pieces.
Especially if you're in that area as well. If you're doing a charge,
100%.
we just bolt a repair onto it as well, and it makes the time up.
Yeah,
it makes it easier for pricing as well, because you know that you can price it a little bit less on the hours.
Because
especially it's a back to back, as I call it. It's just a straightforward install.
Yeah,
you could just bolt another repair on, or a couple of repairs after that. The day's full. It's really good.
I speak to a lot of contractors on a daily basis, and it seems that there's a lot of stress to ensure that there's enough work for those guys on the tools. Is there any contractors out there, i.e. the ladies and gents on the tools, that will say, I'm maxed out every single day, I've got too much on, they give me too much work in a day? I know as a business owner, but stripping it back to when you guys was on the tools, have they got a fair comment? Do you ever consider this?
Again, if it depends. When I was sort of a one-man band and was doing it, I was hungry, so I was out till 10 o'clock at night. I was always trying to, where's the next job coming from? How am I going to do this? If I say no to this job, am I going to get the next job? So I was always, I say maxed out, I was always filling my diary up as much as I could. I mean, if you ask my guys, 8 till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they think they're maxed out and they turn off. But I mean,
I started off with an apprentice in the van, and he would dread it because he'd never go home. I'd be working, so I would just, about 6 o'clock, I'd be driving past his house to go to another job.
Yeah. Can we come on now, please?
Out the window. Well, you'd have to, because you knew that if you didn't get that job done that day, it'd knock on to the next one, which meant you didn't get more delay. It was just, you had to do it.
You guys are fantastic on the tools. You love being on site. What's the transition of then almost being a pen pusher and being off site and managing contracts, staff?
It's slow. It's slow. It does it. You end up doing like a few hours on site, and then you have to go and do some office stuff, and then
I absolutely hate it. If I'm honest with you,
time.
My phone rings all the time when I'm on site, regardless of whether I'm working or not working. But being sat in an office in front of a screen and not being hands-on and getting your hands dirty,
no reward,
there isn't a reward, because there isn't, like I said earlier, the completion effect when you stand back and you go, oh yeah, I've done that. Well, if you've quoted for 10 jobs in the day, you don't see that reward until a big job comes over or what have you. So there's not as much reward being on the site, but it's a leap you have to take if you want to grow, because you can't be out on site doing the work and getting the work for all the guys and quoting the jobs and going out to see the customers and coming up to see yous.
That's it, having a jolly.
Yeah, having a jolly.
All the way to Boston.
It's so hard, isn't it?
Life, yeah.
Can I have another coffee?
Yeah.
I saw on LinkedIn that you've now rented an office space, haven't you?
Yeah.
Purely for this, get out away from home, probably in the kitchen, and having a focus on the admin.
Yeah, so it does make a big difference. I'm sort of 50-50 at the minute, in between the office and at work, like on the tools, so to speak.
Probably helps your wife as well, doesn't it? Getting out of the house and away from...
Yeah, well, I've got 3 young kids as well, so like trying to work, with solar jobs, and you both will know, doing commercial work, sometimes when you're talking to people, you might be talking about a contract worth 120 grand.
Kids in the back.
You don't want Peppa Pig going on. It's a mindset thing as well. Like, you put your shirt on.
You in the right mindset.
Yeah, you get down, sit at your table, and your head's in.
When you get home, you can do the reverse, can't you? You can
That's it, yeah.
Go into the family mode.
Yeah, definitely. It's about half an hour away from my office is, which wasn't ideal, but it does give you that opportunity to sort of wind up to work and wind back down as well. But what I will say is, when I took the office on, I was like, this is going to be great because I'm going to have no distractions. I'll be able to get so much more work done in the same amount of time. But paperwork breeds paperwork. Like, the more time I spend in the office, the more paperwork that's in. Yeah. Well, if you're doing, like, you never not got something to do as a business owner. If you're stood still thinking you've got nothing to do, like, you're not doing it right.
No.
Because you've always got more work that you could get in the calendar. There's always marketing you could do. There's always sales, and that's never ending. Like, there's always changes that need to be done. But yeah, it made a huge difference on the way I see my business, which means it changes the way other people see my business as well.
How many years did it take for you to feel comfortable as a business owner?
I don't think I do still, but I don't think you're going to do. I think you're always, like Reiss was saying before, you're always worried about where, if you're going to get paid for this job, if this job's going to get complete, it's going to be done correctly. You've constantly got to be nervous about it. And I think if you're not, then you're doing it wrong. You've got to be worried about it, I think.
You won't mind me saying this because the audience that we're capturing will have different stages of their journey. I managed to meet your accountant, that you brought an in-house accountant in, haven't you?
Yeah.
What was the thinking behind that? 'Cause that's a big cost, I'm guessing, to employ someone that's full-time on your business.
Yeah.
Why did you need that?
I think I was picking up a lot of the slack. So we had an accounts administrator would input all the data, but to extract the data, so doing invoicing, checking profitability, looking at rates that we're charging, it was all back down to me. So I'm trying to get rid of that, or not get rid of it, push it onto an accountant and a company accountant, so I can then look above and sort of rise above that and look at what's going on everywhere else. So already it's been brilliant.
How often do you overlook the business rather than be in it when people's coming to you as an owner? This, that. When do you have time? Do you actually dedicate any days where you actually look at the business?
So this is something we're starting to do, because this was exactly what you were saying. We were running and dealing with all the fires, as what I call them. So all the Mrs. Joneses, spinning plates. I mean, now we are making it more clarity within the business, and every month I have a sit down with the manager of each sector of my business, and we have a chat about how the last month went, where next month's going, what their profitability is going to be like, and where we go, so I can have an overview of the business and see.
You know, all your invoicing and stuff like that. Have you got an accountant as well in the house?
So we've got 3 girls that do the day-to-day sort of booking jobs, and then obviously we've got on the system, they then send the invoices out to the customers, and then we've got an accountant that will then go through, she goes through all the purchase invoices coming in and makes sure they're all assigned to everything and stuff. Yeah, and then my wife is a chartered accountant as well, which helps. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So now, if you don't mention your wife, Matt, because these two have mentioned their wives.
Yeah, she looks after me. I can't say anything against if she does at home. Definitely.
I wouldn't dare you say it. So we're looking at the overview of the businesses, and we've talked about why we was going to install EV chargers. It's a new income revenue. It's a new stream, and hopefully, if we're offering maintenance, it's a great drip into the coffers, as they say. It's just pound notes coming in, being able to offer a full turnkey solution. If I deal with roughly 120 installers a month training them, I'd say 20 are offering maintenance plans. Is this a marketplace that you've only just got into on the maintenance, or did you already have this as a business model of concept, design, install, maintenance?
Well, for me, to be fair, my maintenance side of it has actually kicked off relatively recently. So I would always do like a one-off test for people if they need an annual inspection doing. But mine actually got pushed, because you know what it's like, spinning plates. I need to get that sorted out, that service agreement for this job. But somebody came to me, and this is testament to Rolex actually. So the initial job came through as a job from Rolex to go out and check some charges that they were having trouble with. And they actually, that client actually came back to me and said, "Do you do a maintenance scheme?" So I was like, well, I'll speak to other people in business, and like one of the guys, because I'm always looking at what the business is worth, and one of the guys that I speak to who flips businesses for a living, he's like, get something in your business that creates annual recurring revenue. Yeah. And I was like, well, this is my opportunity now. I'm sticking with the same product line, so I'm not confusing things, but I've got an opportunity to grow the value of the business if somebody was looking at it. So I set up a basic, premium and a platinum service agreement. So the basic was like just an annual, so it keeps your warranty, and then there was a biannual, that was the premium, and then the platinum gets you X amount of call outs as well, included in that. And they've signed up to it. And it gets me a good monthly income. I only think I need like 10, maybe 10 or 20, and I could take somebody on, and their wages covered, just based on that monthly. That's a great idea, yeah. So he sort of pushed it, so I'm pretty well, that procedure and process is close to being sort of in place now. I just need to write the actual service agreement, the contractual side, and then I'll start really pushing that. And that'll be one of my targets then, business targets. You can say, look at the business. That's a part of that, sort of setting up the service agreements and setting the targets. But yeah, things like that are great for having confidence in taking on more members of staff.
It gives you that security in the cash flow that you know that you've got that coming in, regardless of whatever else you do. That's all bonus.
Well, I'm thinking I'll actually set up a separate bank account for that. So all that money will just go into one bank account, and if we don't need to touch it, like if these people are on platinum plans and it turns out they don't need call outs and stuff, it's actually really quite a profitable scheme. And if we don't need to touch it, then it's just, you can spend that money somewhere else in the business, invest somewhere else.
From an EV perspective, of course, from the old plug and play, simple, dumb chargers, there's a lot of technology now. And as a manufacturer ourselves, we're seeing that we've got to be so innovative.
Yeah,
it's almost like we wonder if they'll have a PlayStation built in or something in the next few years. How's that affected you guys as installers?
I mean, obviously a little bit more time for the engineers to set it up on the site, what have you. But from a functionality point of view, it's absolutely fantastic for the engineers and for the customers. And like the Monza back office that we do for some of the commercial clients, where you can charge clients at different rates and everything, they absolutely love that functionality, and obviously changing some of the dumb old units to some of the smarter ones that can be charged, etc., to them. So
yeah, we've just done a client where we did some charges at their business, which was all put on the back office Monza platform. We then did some charges at the directors' houses and some of the employees' houses, and Mark did one for us down in his area where we passed it on to him. But all those people could then be on the same platform and charge it back to the central office. Yeah. Doesn't matter where you are in the country, it's all going back to one place. It's brilliant.
So it's almost like you're able to then monitor the use, who's charged, when they've charged.
How much it costs, so they can repay the employees for what they're charging costs. It's fantastic.
Put your electricity rates in and everything, don't you? So it's a really smart system.
I believe it's about education as well. I'm not sure even some of the installers that I work with, that they're actually pushing this education factor of the functionality of the units and actually what you can get from your small investment, because it's not a huge amount per month, is it, when you're using a back office, but the functionalities are so in depth now.
Yeah. Let's find someone new, don't you?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's actually confusing. Like when you first set them up, I allow time to just sit with the client and go through it, because they in a bigger business like a corporate, smaller businesses, there's not so much of an issue because you're normally dealing with like one person that's going to look after them. But then when you go corporate and they're on about wanting sites, charges at all the different sites, and they've got a client where they've bought businesses and they've got so many different like HR departments, they've not centralised it all, and like trying to set up their invoice and everything has been a bit difficult. But once it's all up and running, it's great. Like as you said, like you can charge. Sponsored charging is called, isn't it? Yeah, when you look after your staff's charging at home. But yeah, there's, like I say, it's endless stuff that you can set up. And like the load balancing, I know it's not so much of a benefit on the face of it to the client, but the load balancing through monitors.
Just an install.
Yeah, it's really handy. Yeah, if you've got limited capacity when you supply.
You say it's not a benefit to the customer if all their electricity's tripping because
they've
got 10 cars plugged in. Yeah, that'll be a benefit to them when it's not tripping.
But on the face of it, they don't really care, do they?
They
just want to make it work.
Yeah.
And I often have this conversation about you send a quote to a customer, but they actually don't understand what they're reading.
Talked about this the other day, didn't we?
We did, and say, you've got to be able to sit down with the customer
100%
and explain. Do not look at the cost. That's the last thing you look at.
Yeah.
But this is actually the benefits. This is what I've advised you, and is rightly what you just said there. If you're plugging all of your vehicles in at once, it's not good. Could you imagine if we did that here? and then all of a sudden the factory went down or something like that, it would cost us thousands.
The machine went down.
That would be a problem, trust me. So it's about educating the customer, isn't it? The end user, being able to say, these are the benefits from your car charger. Long gone are the days where you just thought, I'll actually get my charger, put it on the wall, that plugs in to an extension lead, and I just plug my vehicle in.
Yeah.
Going back to the functionality and the management, are you considering actually saying to the customer, not only will I install and maintain, but actually I'll look after the back office side of things for you as well? So you've not got the heartache of, I don't know, it might be Debbie in accounts, and then all of a sudden Andy's a site supervisor that's going to look after the charge points, but he's far too busy. Do you think there's a space in the market as a revenue for your perspective to charge to look after everyone's
I think we
sites?
can monitor them as well, and can't we?
Yeah.
Remotely.
And see when they're online and offline and everything like that as well, can't you?
Yeah.
And if they're in fault, what have you. I definitely think there is a potential to do it. I mean, I haven't done any personally yet for them, but again, it's a service we could offer, and if it helps the end client, because I mean, I don't know how you find it, but 90% of the clients that I deal with just want you to deal with it all. Just get it sorted, and we want the chargers, we want them to work, we want them to be installed. Just send me an invoice.
Yeah.
They do generally, don't they? It's like you, if you had something installed in your office at your work, I just want it installed, I want it to work and then get out of my way, because I've got to run my business. That's what they want. That's what they want from
chargers,
Yeah.
It's the same as you running your business. You've got so many other things to think about.
Yeah.
The last thing on your mind is the EV chargers. You just want them to work. You want to come to work, plug your EV charger in. Helen from accounts comes and plugs her one in, and you know you can see it all, and you can.
I do normally sit on them as an admin if they're happy for me to.
Yeah.
They don't always want you in there, but I'll normally stay on I'll use monitor generally. Normally sit on the back office as an admin.
Yeah.
So if they have trouble, I can go in. And there's an amount of remote sort of diagnostics you can do just from the back office.
Because these charge points are now becoming critical. It was almost like, I might have some I need these to be operational 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
It will affect our business dramatically.
Yeah. It's your fuel, isn't it? It's the fuel for the cars.
Yeah.
If the salesperson's got an EV car and they can't get out and sell anything, then they're no good to you.
Yeah, it's absolutely critical.
Yeah.
I've seen a shift in the market on fleet charging and the amount of businesses which are now going completely full electric. Yeah. There's opportunities in this marketplace, is there not?
Yeah, we've just done a hospital where they've changed their estates fleet to vans, electric vans. So we've put a group of chargers in for them, and luckily, touch wood, everything's been so far. Yeah. And they're absolutely loving it. But they're going from site to site in them. So eventually, we're going to hopefully be doing the other sides as well, the satellite side.
I'm with you. Yeah. I see that there's huge growth in the marketplace. How are you guys gearing up for this rapid growth? Because you'll even see now in service stations where before you've got like the lease companies trying to sell you the dream on a car. It's now EV.
Yeah.
The emails which we actually get through, I've seen now, is going from diesel and hybrid actually to full EV, and they're becoming more affordable.
Yeah. We were looking at leasing vans recently, and they Fords specifically are pushing the EV and will give you such a good terms on your lease over a diesel van, because they want to push the market as well.
I was listening to something on the way here. There's an EV podcast. I can't remember what it's called, but I think the chap was saying they've got requirements put on them by the government to sell at least 20% of their cars need to be electric vehicles. Now, don't quote me on that. It was just a figure that I remember, something that remembered in my head. But they were saying, if you sort of look towards the end of the year, so where we are now, maybe into November time, there will be, and I'm seeing it because I'm looking at an electric van as well.
Yeah.
Good deals coming. There's huge deals on electric vans coming, and that's going to get better and better and better as the year goes on, because they've got to hit these targets, and if they don't, they have to pay a fine. So they'll just try and get rid of as many of these vehicles as they can. So the deals now, if anyone's looking for an electric vehicle, now's the time to go looking, definitely.
And I think we're gonna try and train more guys up as well, because we're ready for some influx of work. Mm-hmm. At the minute we've just got one guy doing EV full time. We're thinking we're going to need at least another 2, maybe 3, especially if we're doing the maintenance and stuff.
Yes, yeah. I suppose you could almost have one going out doing the surveys, one doing the installs, one doing maintenance.
Yeah.
I see there's massive growth. I know I'm a positive kind of guy, but where the amount of inquiries which we're getting, and talking about inquiries, how are you guys finding trying to bring business leads in? What's your focus? What's your plans over the next 12 months to get people to come to you rather than you trying to find it?
We're doing marketing. We've got our own website. We're driving SEO on it as well, which seems to be working. We're grateful for getting jobs off for you guys, which come through. Recommendations for servicing, for repairs as well as installs.
Yeah.
Well, marketing's like crazy. I'm just sort of like dipping my toes in it really, because it's so like psychological. It's like I thought, and expensive. Yeah. So like I have budget for it, and my current budget has been spent on a sales director. So somebody that I'm not a sales trained person, an electrician. So in a fractional basis, I can't afford to pay a sales director on business, but on fractional time. So he's coming in to help us sort of build that sales pipeline that everybody talks about, and how to properly handle that and put the proper sales processes and procedures in place. But in other ways of getting in, actually, I'm trying something, not this weekend, but the following weekend, because I know other people have said that they've got a lot of like good feedback from it, and that is, like fetes and local events that you have in.
Put a stall up.
Yeah. So like once you go eat, like, so if you go to that with a socket and say, do you want to buy a socket, mate? Like no one's interested, but you turn up with a flashy, try and get the EV charger there with the lights on it and solar panels, and you've got the benefit on your bills. You've got commodities to sell now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know people that have had great return on investment. So it's like cost me £100 for the stall, probably another £500 for all the marketing bits to go in it. You only get 1, 2, 3 jobs and you've absolutely blown that. Yeah, blown it out of the water, yeah. But I'm hoping that comes from.
And I know you like to take a selfie.
I do like a selfie, yes.
On a side. Have you got any ambitious plans, social media or specific marketing strategies?
To be completely honest with you, my marketing strategy is awful. we don't do any marketing of bits and pieces. Facebook and LinkedIn and all the social medias is something I'm sort of just breaking into and finding my feet with that sort of market at the moment. We do have a lot of plans for marketing, and we can see how it's bringing value to the business. I mean, we've got to a stage now where the business isn't. We've got customers that are coming in that have used us for years and years and years, and they keep the business going. But obviously, to grow, and we need to be doing the marketing, we need to be doing the SEO on the website and doing the Facebook adverts and bits and pieces. We're actually coming up to the NEC, not with you. We've got another stand near you in November, the Land, Leisure and Tourism Industry. So we're going to give that a go and have a stand on there and see what that.
The grant thing has been good for us as well. They had that, so you could see in the school grant that came out.
Yeah.
So we just did some cold calling emails, sent some emails to some trusts, and we're just at the minute hopefully upward of pushing the button on like a 15 school rollout, all because of the grants really. So
I did see them. I did see the email come out with the grants on it, but I must admit I didn't really act on it. But it's massive, and it's like half the cost.
So we're doing some of this summer holidays. They've gone through, and then we're just waiting for some more. So hopefully push the button on it. But it's
nice,
done good. And that was just an email, just emailing the trust.
Was it just as simple as
just sending an email in and saying, "Did you know about the grants? Do you want us to come out and do you some free surveys?" So I went out and did 15 surveys on schools, which was a bit of a bind, but hopefully it's going to all pay off.
Yeah.
And that's purely by allowing them. So they've potentially may have had an email somewhere.
They didn't know.
They're not read it or sort of thing. Didn't know. So by you just simple email it.
Okay, so this is where your knowledge in the industry and keeping on top of what grants are available, bits and pieces, I'll go into those schools and giving them the opportunities, isn't it?
So even if they didn't decide to use the grants, you've still actually opened the door, haven't you?
Yeah.
And not just from an EV perspective, but of course for additional.
And I've gone face to face. I've met the estates manager. I've met people on site as well. So you're just broadening your network.
Yeah. This comes into when we do the sales and marketing training. And I sort of say, please do a site survey with the decision owner.
Yeah.
Or if not the top person, somebody high up that's going to understand.
Yeah.
And go back and say, these are more expensive. However, the package is so much more lucrative. And the experience and the expertise that they've given me. And it's right, having that face-to-face
Gives them
is
confidence.
huge.
Oh, massively, yeah. It definitely gives them the confidence. And I know too with the domestic as well, even though some people ask to send photos in, I just don't know how that gives the client a connection then or confidence that they're going to get a good install.
No. There's always going to be that case, isn't there, where we're busy people, and some of the installers will just say, send me via WhatsApp and I'll quote you.
Yeah.
Each to their own, but I certainly feel if you can get out there, especially if they're local, but like what you were saying earlier about the maintenance, add it as a bolt-on, so you're going to be in the area anyway. Let's go to see them face to face and explore exactly what their requirements are.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how I do ask the clients sometimes for photos, but I always give them the option of a face-to-face, just because people, obviously, if they're out working, for them to take time off of work to come and meet the engineer to then have it, it's sometimes not always.
It doesn't meet everyone's diary, does it?
Exactly. So
we're bringing in something now, so it's like a 4-stage process. So incoming call, few questions, video call if they're more than 20 miles away, whatever. Then if the video call goes okay, we go out as well, and then it's
solar and EV.
Either. Yeah. So. If you've got a looped service, you can't do it. You can't install an EV charger, right? And you can see that on a video, so it sort of saves a hassle. Yeah. Also, some people are just really kicking tires in.
Would you offer the DNO application for them then? So I'll put your DNO application for you to get you unlooped.
Yeah. So I'd say
try and keep them in.
Yeah. So I'd say, look, you've got a loop supplier, so you need to do this first. If you still want to go down that route, we can do.
Yeah, we can do it for you.
Yeah.
You can obviously charge them for that as well then.
Yeah. But we just try, it's just an additional thing that we've put in place to try and, not always, if it's local, I just go out.
Yeah.
But yeah, most people nowadays seem quite happy with it.
Yeah.
I do think we're getting into more of a technological world where people are glued to their phones, and it is easier to take a photo than have the personal connection. But I mean, I don't know how you find talking to people out on site. I always say it's not what you know, it's who you know. Obviously, what you know does come into it because you can't do what you do without it. But it's who you know, and getting that relationship with the customer always helps.
And they generally say, do you just do EV or do you do other stuff? We say, we do other electrical. So we go into a factory, before you know it, you're coming out with, a string of jobs to price.
Yeah. Well, I did that. We wired up someone's log cabin of 4 sockets, and next week point solar on his house.
Wow.
It's like tenfold.
It shows you shouldn't turn down any job, should you?
Yeah.
Sockets in.
Yeah, I must admit, like when we get busy, sometimes I'll refer people to other electricians that I know. I've just not got time to come out and do that. But you don't know what you're missing out on, do you?
That's the thing about being a business owner. Yeah. You're always thinking about that next job.
Yeah.
That fear of missing out.
Yeah.
That's the thing I not miss about being on the tools, but when I'm out on the tools, you meet the customers, you talk to the customers, you naturally sell yourself when you're out there doing it anyway, whereas obviously the employees are just there, get the job done and go home, don't talk about it. So that's obviously the disadvantage of being stuck in an office behind a computer quoting.
Is there an incentive, though, Reiss, for I'm your Sparky? Let me just do that.
Yeah.
I do the job well, don't get me wrong. Yeah. Otherwise, you wouldn't employ me. Done, out there, see you, next customer, go home. Is there an incentive if I can potentially upsell?
We have got incentives for the staff when they're out, if they can sell bits and pieces when they're there or speak to the customers. Some of them do. Some of them are more confident. Others of them want to clock off.
Yeah.
What have you. So it does depend on the person who
not everyone's a salesperson, are they?
No,
you can have introverts in your business.
I know what you said about not having any formal sales training. Yeah. I don't have any formal sales training, but I think you are naturally a salesperson as a business owner because you have to sell yourself. You have to be able to talk about your product, and I think your technical knowledge helps you to sell it because you can explain the product rather than...
Yeah, definitely. The more technical, you don't actually need to be all that salesy, to be fair. Like if you're a likeable person and the person that you're going to quote, I know this sounds daft, and you're not trying to pull the wool over their eyes, but you're saying things that they don't even understand. Yeah. And that gives them the confidence, like, right, he knows what is going on, but I don't even know the words that he's using. Like, let's just get him to do it because he's losing me. But yeah, so there's definitely...
Just because they're from up north, though, that's... Not as eloquent as us.
Big words like
What's your business ethos?
I would say definitely doing a good job is the top. Doing a good job. Then it comes down to obviously making the money. But the ethos is definitely doing a good job, and that's what we strive for. Seeing the client happy, walking away.
Yeah, obviously, like doing a good job is like top of the list. Integrity, so like doing what you say you're going to do, and it's so hard when you take people on you sort of got to not brainwash them, but get them to be the same as you want your business to be displayed. So it is difficult. But one of the things I say to somebody, I say it every time I give them a quote, I was like, this is the price. It's not going to change if I come across something that's difficult. Like, that's my problem.
Yeah, sticking to your word.
Yeah, and I've never once in my, I can hold my hand up. I've never changed a price on somebody. I wasn't expecting this, or you didn't tell me that. The only time a price will change, and I tell them this, is if you change the scope. So if halfway through the job you take something out or you add something, then the price will change accordingly. And I think people like they like that confidence, because people do it. People change the price halfway through jobs, and if it's a big job, the customer feels like they've got to do that because you're already halfway through knocking the house to bits, and they're not going to get somebody else in. But yeah, so like integrity, doing a good job. Just trying to enjoy yourself as well. Like, you're going to be doing this for the rest of your life. Be nice to people.
And for me, I suppose it's reliability. If we say we're going to be somewhere, we turn up, we do what we say we're going to do. Professional, do the job to correct NIC, EIC standards, and make sure we're doing the correct job for the thing. And reliability, professional. Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Oh, and trustworthy. You say what you're going to do, and like you said, not changing the price on people. And
yeah,
got to make sure all the staff are doing the same thing, like you said.
Yeah,
because they're fronting the business, aren't they? They're the guys that are out there.
Best piece of business knowledge that you've received?
Yeah. Wow. Off someone else. I think reliable is probably the one. Just make sure that you turn up when you say you're going to turn up. Mm-hmm. You do what you say you're going to do. And that goes a long way, I think, with people, doesn't it?
Can be a problem in trade, can't it?
Yeah, because we have renown for letting people down.
I don't get it personally when they say, we've had so-and-so round for a quote, and they haven't sent us a quote. So they've taken the time to come out and see the client, and then just don't get back to them. And I'm like, why have you wasted your time if you're not going to even bother quoting?
That's business advice that you've received?
I mean, I receive lots of advice in many formats. I try and make sure all my social media feeds are like positive advice, and I try and speak to coaches. So I receive loads, but I would say that I saw something the other day that stuck with me, and if you're stressing in business for whatever reason, don't worry about anything that's further than 2 days ahead of you, and don't worry about anything that's further than 2 days behind you. That's done and gone.
That's good.
So you can stress over something that's about to happen like 6 weeks. So you've got an audit coming. You've got a plan, prepare for it, but don't worry about it until it needs worrying about. Because you can sort of sit in your head, and there's like 1,000 things. You're lying down at night, there's 1,000 things spinning around your head, and you'll know that you'll have had sleepless nights as business owners. But if it's not tomorrow or the next day, go to sleep.
Well, I remember that tonight.
That's a caption right there, isn't it? Reiss.
And my one, from a business point of view, so obviously we're all in this to make money. We wouldn't be a business if we didn't make money. It would be a hobby. Mine is know your figures, know your return on investments, what have you. Know what your costs, overheads are. Know your figures, because if you're not making money on it, there's no point doing it. To be honest with you. So that was my from a business point of view.
Yeah. Try not to run your business from your bank account.
Well, this is it. Yeah. So
The best piece of advice I've received is be good to people, and good people will come to you. Gents,
okay.
you've smashed it. Fantastic. Thank you so much for attending today. I'm sure we'll get lots of positive feedback from you guys being open, honest. Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Top man.
Cheers, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.